R2-D2 stole Luke's X-Wing. C-3PO is in Empire captivity. The leading Rebel Alliance trio of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Princess Leia were at their wits' end. Having just completed a daring Star Destroyer hijacking and just barely making it out of the ensuing battle alive, they needed to take time to repair and look after the wounded. But R2 had different plans. He was going to save 3PO, even if it meant disobeying his masters. How did he do it? This is that story. Barreling through space, the Rebel fleet was in the space above Turin 7, gathering back their strength after a major battle. You want to go after him. You heard the same message I did. Bartan, amidst the debate to head back into the clutches of the Empire and save their friend and ally, C-3PO. Luke and Leia listened. Sadly, for both the protocol droid, it was a 2-against-1 situation, with Leia taking the side of Han and finding it too dangerous to save him. Han, in his own charming way, laid the excuses on real thick. Not only would they be flying right into the Empire, but straight to Darth Vader, who was commanding the Star Destroyer 3PO was being held on. But all this talk of their droids made Luke very aware of something. No one knew where R2 was. As it turned out, the resourceful astromech droid was paces ahead of his friends. Luke rushed out of the Rebel cruiser in a spare X-Wing because, of course, his trusty droid friend had taken off in his. Having not gotten far, Luke managed to catch up to R2, and the two X-Wings slowly bobbed alongside one another as Luke questioned the droid as to what he was doing. The following beep and whistles from R2 informed Luke that the astromech was going in search of his droid partner, C-3PO, alone. Luke, the most sympathetic to the situation out of the Rebel group, made it known that he understood R2's conviction, but Luke also informed him that there was just no way in their current situation that they could go after him. However, although Luke was understanding, R2 was having none of it. C-3PO was the closest thing he had to a partner in the group, and had stuck with him over many years through thick and thin. C-3PO was the kind of droid that would have done the same for his friends, and R2 adamantly believed he owed this to him. Blind to any obstacles, R2 started to veer Luke's pilotless X-Wing away from the Jedi. It was clear that Luke wanted to give in, travel with R2 and rescue 3PO. The biggest problem was R2 going straight into the Empire without a proper army or at least a squad of infiltrator troops. Unlike Leia and Han, Luke would have gladly gone to rescue 3PO, if he had a real plan. But as it stood, Luke had to wrangle in the rogue astromech droid before more trouble befell the fleet, which was easier said than done. For such a small droid, R2 was incredibly resourceful. As Luke tried reassuring his droid friend, he realized that the computer system on the fighter he was flying was starting to glitch. Suddenly, it wasn't just the computer that was failing, the whole thing was shutting down. Something was wrong with the astromech droid and his borrowed fighter. In an effort to get Luke off his back, R2 had disabled Luke's flight help, as the droid pursued his goal. Luke's annoyance turned from R2 and towards the failing droid behind him. R2 was manipulating it, causing it to shut down Luke's hyperdrive systems so he couldn't follow R2. As he squabbled with the astromech, R2 quietly took his chances while Luke was distracted. In a quick flash, he boosted into hyperspace, into the far reaches of space to find his friend and counterpart. Luke shouted and implored him to come back. It wasn't so much the worry of the Empire uncovering their location, but the danger that the mission posed to an unaccompanied R2. Suddenly, Luke's borrowed X-Wing bobbed up and down in space all alone. As he apologetically reported back to the Rebel fleet that he had lost track of R2, his borrowed droid, S4, shared Luke's disappointment. But again, it wasn't just about the current situation. Luke blamed himself for not being ready, for not being a Jedi yet, for not having the wisdom to console R2 and also make a real plan to get 3PO. But there was nothing he could do. Not only were R2 and 3PO strong assets to the rebellion, but close friends of his. They were some of the first faces he'd met on his way off the lonesome rock of Tatooine. He felt that only if he had trained more, won more battles, he could accompany R2 and face off against a bigger, more personal threat, Darth Vader. That's who it was all about, and Luke could only imagine what horrors his arch-enemy might have in store for his friends. R2 was one of the most loyal droids alive, So seeing him stuck in the middle of this tricky situation, weighing whether the theft of his master's vehicle was less disloyal than abandoning a friend to Darth Vader, was an interesting tale for the droid. Ultimately, we got to see what made the little astromech one of the most tenacious figures in the entire galactic civil war, and 3PO couldn't have been happier about it.